I would make bad choices, get knocked down, but he always would pull me back up. I was a hurting person. And so when you hurt, you do things out of hurt. This man was a minister, and I thought, oh, he's my man of God. My man of God was actually a crack addict. I remember thinking my life was a mess. 2 marriages, both bad. What he was doing that I didn't really see, he was molding me and changing me and healing me. You can never mess up too much for him. I'm living proof of that. My name is Bernice McClure, and I live in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm from a small town called South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, one main road, and my mother was about 15 years old when she had me. Now, my grandfather told her, you will need to name this child from the Bible because the way she was conceived, it was sin, and she's going to have a hard time in her life. Now, my granddaddy, he didn't mean that in a negative way. That was just his way of thinking. So my mother randomly opened the Bible, and she saw Acts chapter 25, verse 13. And she saw the name Bernice, and she picked that name for me. What she did not know is Bernice means victorious. It means literally bringer of victory. And so God used that. I mean, how unlikely is it to open the Bible and see a name? And he used that to set the tone, I believe, for my life. I believe that God is sovereign, that he knows everything. I also believe that we have free will, and somehow he takes our free will and his sovereignty, and he works his plan out for our life. I don't fully understand it. It's just that I've lived it. So I believe he knew what challenges I would have. He knows everything. He knew what I would need. And so somehow, throughout my life, it seems I would make bad choices, get knocked down, but he always would pull me back up, always. And so I think my name had a lot to do with that. Now, as a little girl, of course, my family, we went to church. My stepfather was an alcoholic. So he would work all week, and then he would get drunk on the weekend, waste all the money. So it was pretty chaotic. We weren't as poor as some people, but our needs were not always met. And my mother worked so hard to take care of us and worked an outside job. So church was life. Church was everything. Every time the doors were open, we were there. Matter of fact, the church I was a member of was right across from my house. And so it was just a hop and a skip to go to church. And I gave my heart to Christ as a little girl. Now, I knew what I was doing. I can't tell you. I don't remember how old I was, so I can't tell you that. But everybody seemed like they were giants to me. So I know I was little. And I remember them saying, do you want to become a member of the church? But I knew I was giving my heart to Christ. And so I remember walking up there, standing, my heart was pounding, but I knew what I was doing. And from that point, I loved the Word. I went home, I memorized the books of the Bible. Church was life for me. And so we would always go, and I grew. I would like to say that there was a happy ending at that point, but there were challenges. Being raised in chaos, when my father would drink on the weekend, he was a different man. He was mean, and he was angry, and he was hurtful. And I'm the oldest, and so I bore the brunt of all of that. He would slap me, he would curse me, and I remember trying to placate him, always trying to satisfy him, soothe him. So I took that responsibility, so you know that was very stressful. It was. So at 17, I'm out of here. It's like, it can't be worse than this. Well, it was. I mean, at 17, even though I was a mature 17, I had picked someone who had pain like me, and it was pretty bad. He was in the military, and so we traveled, but it was bad. We had one son, and I remember thinking, my life is just messed up. Now, I still was a Christian. I still went to church. I prayed. I read the word, but chaos all around. So after about 10 years of that, and I had biblical grounds, I divorced him. And then I stayed single for a while, raising my children, trying to work. I was a hurting person. And so when you hurt, you do things out of hurt. I didn't know how to get my head right or my heart healed. I didn't know what to do. So you keep making bad choices. I married again. This man was a minister, and I remember when I met him, he had long, wavy hair, and I thought, oh, he's my man of God. He took me to church with him, and I remember thinking, oh, God, he's got to be the right one. Well, I only dated him 3 weeks, and then we married. You never marry someone after just 3 weeks. And so my man of God was actually a crack addict, and I happened to catch him in those 3 weeks when he wasn't doing crack. Life was worse. We had 2 sons, and I lived for them. I remember he would leave, go to the crack house, be gone all weekend, come home. I don't know what he had been doing, but we know that it was sinful. And I'm trying to keep a house, take care of my 2 boys. They were about a year apart, so I had 2 babies. And it was a hard time. I remember thinking that my life was a mess. 2 marriages, both bad. Children, they don't understand why mom and dad are not together. No matter how bad mother or father is, they don't understand that. So I got my children that are going through things. And I remember thinking that I had missed the plan of God, that I was on plan Z, the very last alphabet. But God, what he was doing that I didn't really see, he was molding me and changing me and healing me, because I had deep hurt. When you hurt, then you hurt others and you make bad choices. So I didn't know then. I'm looking at it now. He healed me. He began that process. So I divorced the second time, and I had grounds for that. So after the second divorce, I felt like I would never have a happy marriage, that there was something wrong with me. So I continued to raise my children, pursue the Lord, work. Money was always an issue, but I'll tell you something. God provided for us in ways that was supernatural. Let me tell you a story. Had a little hoopty car, just to get me from point A to point B. And I didn't have any money, and I was running out of gas. Now, it was on E, and I thought, oh, God, I need some money. So I kept driving. I told the Lord, as soon as you bless me with some money, I'll put gas in the car. Well, the hand went down past E. I'm driving. For 3 days, I drove that car. The hand was all the way down past E, and I know that that was his supernatural provision for me. When someone blessed me with some money, I put gas in my car. But I know he did that for me. Now, you know what I'm not saying. You don't drive your car on E. Don't even do that. But he met my need supernaturally. And I remember there'd be nights I would just be so depressed. I didn't know it was depression. Naturally, I'm a very positive person, very joyful just by nature. But I would come home from work or from church, and I'd get into bed, and I would just cry. And that was depression. People at church didn't know. I didn't tell anybody. I'd just cry. Well, one night I remember being in the floor just crying, God, why? Why my children are suffering? And I remember it was as if the Holy Spirit put a warm blanket on me, and I felt his presence in a very tangible way. Those are examples of how God was with me. I'd be reading, and it's like he was talking to me. And he would give me, scriptures would come alive to me. And so he was molding me and changing me. Okay, so after second divorce, raising the children, single, I moved from my hometown to Knoxville, Tennessee to attend a Bible school that my sister was part of. Wanted to know the Lord more, I was hungry, and I just felt a sense of, I don't know if you've ever felt this, but restlessness, like you know you're going to transition, you're not sure where or how. And so that was happening with me for like a couple of years. And so I prayed and I moved to Knoxville. And I attended a Bible school for a year. And supernatural things would happen during the class. The teacher, the president actually, would be teaching, and he would do a rabbit trail, and what he was saying would be for me. He didn't know. So God continued to heal and instruct me, guide me. And so when I moved to Knoxville, attended church, I met who I call my real husband. Now, what I had to do, I need to go back a little bit. I stopped looking for husbands. I stopped trying to say, okay, this one or maybe this one. I stopped all of that and just said, God, you've gifted me to be a wife. And I'm not gifted to be single. And I know you have a husband for me. So what I did, I just stopped all that and trusted him. And when I moved to Knoxville, I met my husband. And he's my true husband. And when I say that, I mean, the others, I was married to them, but he was a godly man. And we became friends for 4 years. He had lost his wife through sickness suddenly. And he was caught up in deep grief, actually. So what I was to him first was his sister, because he needed somebody to talk to about all the pain he felt. And God chose me. And so he would talk to me, and we became then buddies. We hung out together, totally platonic. He was not ready for anything. And our children went with us everywhere. People would see us, they thought we were married, and he would turn beet red with embarrassment because he wasn't thinking about marriage. And so what happened with that was after 4 years, when he was over his grief, then his heart turned to me. And we had a real sweet courtship. It was very sweet. See, what the Lord did, I never had that with the other marriages. But he was saving that for me. A sweet relationship, a godly man. And we've been married for 18 years, raised our children, finished raising them together. 3 boys I had, he had a daughter. And now they're grown. I have great-grandchildren, actually. And we are best buddies. I want you to be encouraged, whoever sees this. I want you to be encouraged that God can make a way for you. He's already got a good plan for you. He says that in his word. I know the plans I have for you. They're good. They're not evil. To give you a future and a hope. He has the future planned for you. And no matter how many mistakes you've made, like I did, even bad marriages that you had, he's working all of that out. So to get you to the point where he can bless you with the things he's got reserved for you. You can never mess up too much for him. I'm living proof of that. I remember people used to say I looked older. When I was 17, 18, and I was married, they say, oh, you're about 33. Now it's the opposite. I'll be 68 next month. They tell me, you're not 68. You look young. He has renewed my youth and healed my heart. I'm as secure in love as if I'd been raised in a family where there was no chaos. His love has made me so secure. If he did it for me, he can do it for you, no matter where you are. Some folks say he's the God of the second chance. No, he's the God of 1,000 chances. He never stops. As long as there's life in you, he has a plan that's good, and he wants to get you there. And I would not be here. I think I would have taken my own life without him working it out for good. So my husband and I, we're best buddies. When people see us, they'll say things like, you guys are having too much fun. You're always like, well, it's because we're best buddies. And that's what God did for me. So I'm very thankful for that. One thing I want to share, as a Christian, you never stop growing. So what I've shared with you, how God has made me new and healed me, and He has made me secure in love, you still have challenges ahead, but you know that He's always there and that He'll never leave you. Just like He kept you in those dark, dark days, He's keeping me, and He'll keep you now in the days, and He'll keep you in the days that are ahead. You can trust Him for your future, and I just thank Him for that. If I were to share with you something that I would like to ask you to pray for me about, it would be that I keep my focus, that I don't lose focus on why God has me here. I am to be an example for Him. As days get darker and darker, and they are going to, that I will not lose focus, no matter who it puts me with, no matter where it takes me from, that I remember I belong to Him. I was made for Him, and I'm to let my light shine. So you could pray that for me. I keep my focus no matter what. Oh, how He loves you and me, and oh, how He loves you and me, because He gave His life. What more could He give? And oh, how He loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, how He loves me, and oh, how He loves you and me. Jesus to Calvary He did go, and His love for mankind to show, and what He did there brought so much hope from despair. And oh, how He loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, how He loves me, and oh, how He loves you and me. Oh, yes, He does. He loves you and me, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, how He loves you